Hello everyone, this is Hillary with Dominion Tea, and today we're going to talk about chamomile. So what do we need to know about a flower that has been brewed as a tea for centuries? First thing you want to know is there's two dominant types, especially here in the United States, that can appear in your garden center. You have a Roman or English type that is a perennial, and you have a German type that is an annual. They are not interchangeable when it comes to tea. They have two different flavor profiles, and I'm going to tell you, if you're going to grow chamomile for yourself for tea, you want the Roman or English perennial, not the German annual. The German annual is going to have a lot, it's a bitter aftertaste. It's very astringent. Give you an idea on the history of chamomile, it's been used by humans dating all the way back to the Egyptians. It's actually in the hieroglyphics on the walls of the pyramids in Egypt. Egypt actually is still the largest commercial producer of chamomile on the planet for tea and for medicine. Why Egypt? So chamomile, both varieties that I'm talking about here, are actually pretty susceptible to fungus. They don't like a lot of moisture. They need kind of a nice balancing act on the waterfront. And Egypt and the Egyptian Delta along the Nile was the perfect place for it, and still is. And so the Egyptians are able to produce chamomile with almost no pesticide or fungicides, which makes it perfect for the industries seeking it, such as tea and medicine. And so let's talk about just what have humans been doing with chamomile trees. Well, I always have to give us credit, right? When all else fails, we stick a plant in alcohol. So chamomile actually was the base of a lot of beers, and you can still find them in German beers. Now, they use the German varietal for these beers, and they're using the entire plant, stem, flower, and all. When we make chamomile tea, we are just using the flower, not the stem. Why is that? The stem is rather vegetal. If you've actually taken an entire chamomile plant, pop it into water, and smell that water, it's going to remind a lot of us, especially here in the United States, of green beans. So what do we use it for outside of German beer? We actually take that English variety, and that is what goes into tea. You get a slightly sweeter finish, a lot less vegetal, still vegetal though. But why was this plant used so much? So the Egyptians figured out early on that if they brewed up chamomile, they could help people with their mouth sores and with gingivitis of all things. But keep in mind, the Egyptians didn't have a way to brush their teeth. So the chamomile in the hot water kind of helped in easing the pain around those mouth sores. It was used for centuries for indigestion. It was used for sleep. But here's the laugh, everyone. When scientists in recent centuries have been trying to test this, they can't prove that it works. So chamomile may ultimately be one of the biggest placebos on the planet, and something that we have used for centuries and mentally believe help us in a way that we can't scientifically prove. Now, why can't we scientifically prove it? There's a lot of variables around humans, and tea in particular, especially a nightly ritual before bed. And what the scientists were able to nail down with a pretty decent amount of accuracy is having a routine before bed helps you sleep, especially if you're consistent with it. Chamomile in and of itself chemically doesn't have anything in it that makes you sleepy, not in the concentrations we need. They have had some success getting lab mice to sleep on chamomile. But the problem is most studies with lab mice, over 80% of them, don't replicate in humans because we are too genetically variable in comparison to those lab mice. But what it will tell you is if chamomile is a flavor you like and you need a nightly routine, this is not a bad plant to go to. Just understand that it's more your habit than the tea itself that is helping you get to sleep. So what happens if you do want to take on growing your own? First things first, if you're here in the United States, watch out. This plant takes over everything. You're going to want to grow it into a pot. Even the annual will take over your garden. I learned that one the hard way. So what you want to do is watch your type when you're at the garden shop. Are you picking up perennial, so the English, or are you picking up the annual, German? I would honestly tell you, you pot them around, you're going to get a lot of pollinators. So if you need bees and other pollinating insects around other plants, chamomile's usually a pretty good one to grow nearby. Only problem is you got to watch your height. Chamomile can shoot up pretty tall, especially the English type. If it's got a lot of nutrients and the right amount of water for it, and it could cause a shade issue for some of your other plants. But if you're looking for something to partner with your nice tall tomato plants, chamomile's not a bad one. And you can put it in pots nearby, attract your pollinators, and have some fun with it without it accidentally taking over your entire garden in 2 years of trying to get it back out. How do you want to brew your chamomile once you get it inside? So here's the thing that goes with it. You are going to probably want to dry it. You can use a dehydrator to do that. Clock is ticking. These flowers do not have a long shelf life when it comes to flavor. Okay, so we talk about tea having long shelf life, and true Camellia sinensis does, 3 to 5 years. Chamomile flowers, you're talking maybe on the high side, 12 months using a home dehydrator. 18 if you're pretty good about getting it in that Ziploc bag afterwards, and keeping it as airtight as possible in between your uses. So you're going to use boiling water on this. You're going to want to steep it 5 to 7 minutes. No concerns over tannic acid here. None exists in the plant. However, I'm also going to warn you, you go and brew this chamomile, don't be surprised when it comes out pretty vegetal and not like the tea bag tea at the grocery store, because most chamomile is actually blended when you look at the chamomile bags at the grocery store. And admittedly, here at Dominion Tea, we don't serve chamomile straight either. We blend it in with our lavender to make lavender dreams. So what are you going to want to do with it? If you're a gardener, go pull your lavender, pull your mint. If you're growing lemon balm, that's a great one. Blend the two together and then steep it. You're going to like the finish better. And you're going to get a much less green bean type flavor in your cup of tea. And so chamomile is one of those plants we find around in our tea industry. Not everybody likes it, and that's okay. But if you are a chamomile drinker, keep in mind you can grow it yourself and have a little bit of fun at the same time. And keep exploring tea.